Here I have a good 3-door hatchback body already chosen, so let's start choosing options for this. Steel for panel material, monocoque chassis and galvanized steel for the material for some corrosion resistance, like that matters here. But it's the idea that counts, I suppose. Front transverse engine placement, of course, McPherson strut for the front suspension and torsion beam for the rear, to hopefully make the rear end a bit more lively. Now I will throw some fixtures on this car. We'll skip forwards to when I'm done. And here's the finished result. A pretty basic design, but I think it works well for this car. Gave it some nice yellow fog lights on the front, turning around to the rear, continued with the basic design. Placed the reverse light and rear fog light on the bumper to mirror the fog lights at the front. Then, on the interior side of things, I went for a nice sporty black and red color scheme for some parts, while keeping a classic light grey for others. The gauge cluster I kept simple as well, equal size stack and speedo along with a fuel gauge and a temp gauge. Overall, do like how the design turned out. With that, let's move on to the next part. Quickly choosing front wheel drive here. Now to the engine, inline 4, cast iron block. Displacement I will make exactly 1.8 liters. For the valve train, I'll go with dual overhead cam with 4 valves, and for the design, I'm choosing aluminum standard. Then crank will be forged light steel, conrods will be just forged, and pistons will be forged light. Those options will allow for a nice high revving engine. For balancing mass, I think balancing shaft for this will be good. Going to keep this engine naturally aspirated. For the fuel system, I will go with injection, multi-point EFI, and single. For the fuel I will spec unleaded gasoline Super 98 Ron. Then standard mid for the intake manifold. Onto the exhaust side then. Cast mid headers to match the intake manifold. I will give this a 3-way catalytic converter and also a single baffled muffler. Now I will quickly tune this engine for decent power. And here is the finished engine. Nothing too special, but should be fun for a lightweight hatchback. Let's do a quick test pull. Though before that, let me change the valve cover real quick to something more fitting. Okay, now start the test pull. And now on to the last section to finish up the car. First up, manual 5-speed for the gearbox, and I think open differential should be good enough for this. For tires I will go with radial hard long lives. A car like this will be more fun with lower grip. Alloy for the rim material. For brakes I'm going with solid disc 2 piston on the front and solid disc 1 piston on the rear. Standard interior with standard cassette. Matches the interior I made pretty well, I would say. Also will optimize the weight to be a bit lighter. Here I will go a bit fancy with the steering and give this hydraulic rack and pinion, and don't think this needs any traction aids. Standard 80 safety, and finally the suspension. Standard springs, gas monotube dampers and passive sway bars, since that is the only option. I will throw on the sport preset and adjust it if needed. Now I will adjust stuff to try to fix these suggestions. And here is the car fully finished, with everything tuned to fix most of those suggestions. Should be a good car to drive now, did my best to tune it to handle well. Was still left with these suggestions, which I don't care about. Can't do much about the engine clearance without some major changes, and the tires I wanted to be this wide. Now then, I need to come up with a name for this. Haste GTI sounds good. With the car fully complete, it's time to export it to BMG Drive so I can test drive it. And here it is in BMG Drive. First I thought we would take it around the automation test track to see how it handles that, so set off the line here, a bit of wheel spin, up to second, and brake for the chicane here, aim for the curbs, like that, handles it well. Then for the long left-hander, easy on the throttle, so we don't get understeer. Open it up when the road gets straight. Up to fourth and brake for this small corner here, then nice and early for this hairpin, getting a bit unsettled there while braking on the curb, but nothing too bad. Managed to get pretty decently through. Then for this banked corner, brake around the sign and nice and easy through here. Like that. Then open it up for this long straight. Let's see how fast we can get it going here. Bit of downhill coming up to help us. And up to 5th, maxing out the speedo. Get ready for this high speed corner. Bit of brake on the way in. Keep it steady here. And then get ready to brake into this tricky corner. Let's start there already. Downshift a couple of times. And roll it easily through here. Probably not the fastest way to take that corner. But getting through, which is the most important part. Then accelerate towards the next chicane. I think braking around here should be good. Then easily through here. Take a bit of curb and then accelerate out of there to this medium left-hander. Keep it the throttle going easily. Then bit of brakes for this corner. Roll it through. Bit of tire skidding, but not too bad. Then accelerate a bit on this straight and brake for this uphill corner. The car will go light once we get over the crest. Grip disappears for a bit. Not too bad. And I messed up that last corner. Not too badly, thankfully. Then accelerate out of there and cross the finish start line there, like that. Okay, so handles the track pretty well. Maybe would have wanted a bit more lift of oversteer, but it actually does go pretty nicely where you want it to go, so happy with that. Didn't have too much understeer, which would be a common problem with front-wheel drive cars. So happy with how it handles on track. Okay, let's do a lap of the handling circuit next to further test the handling. Also go into third-person view for a bit of change. Let's set off here. Accelerate and up to second, which is probably the only gear we will need here. Since this is a series of low-speed corners to test the handling. Okay, didn't brake early enough for there, but managing to still get through. So doesn't really have any lift of oversteer here. Yep, no, just wants to understeer when you go too fast into a corner and lift off. So that's a bit disappointing. Would have wanted a bit more lift of oversteer, but still happy that it doesn't understeer badly either. So that's good. Really goes where you point it when you have the speed correct. Of course, if you go too fast into a corner like that, it does understeer, as you would expect from a front-wheel drive car. Let's try a bit of flick here, but yeah, you cannot really get it to oversteer either. So would have wanted a bit of lift of oversteer, but oh well, cannot have everything. But we'll say that it does handle well still, even without that. So happy with how it turned out still. It's very easy to drive. As a hot hatch should be, I think. Wouldn't want it to be too difficult to throw it around. So yeah, not too much understeer, but no lift of oversteer either. Pretty much so. It handles well. Does go where you want it to go. Let's see what other tests I can think of. So there's this mountain road on this map, which will be a good test as well for this car. Starting off with some ice and snow on the road. So taking it careful here, since this surface can be a bit unpredictable, but still have a surprising amount of grip even with the road tires here. But still, take it easy. Here for now. Okay, open it up a bit and brake nice and early for the corner. Roll it through slowly. Like that. Yep, getting a bit of understeer on this surface. Easy through. Open it up for the downhill a bit and start braking nice and early for the next corner, since we'd have to do it on the ice and snow. And now we are on dry asphalt, so we can be a bit more spirited. But still have to remember to brake early enough for the tight corners here. And still not really getting any oversteer and only slight hints of understeer. So that's good. Easy through here. Past the container section here. Not going really max out here. Taking it decently easy. Okay, let's try bit of handbrake here to get the hairpin and maybe no, not through here. And let's try bit of here. Go a bit faster in here. And yep, easy to correct the slide since it's front wheel drive. And let's try more handbrake here. Like that. Okay, had to do it 3 times to get through. But still slid it through there decently nicely. Okay, that was a bit better. Okay, so fun car to drive on a twisty mountain road like that as well. Now bit of a faster section here of road. Take the corners easy, staying on the lane. And well, start of the highway here, so let's test how it handles here. Let's really max it out on this road. I think that should be fun as well. Up to 4th here. And keep it going as far as we can, as long as we have road. And up to 5th. Let's see if we can get past 200 on this road. Corners messing up the speed slightly. Yep, over 200. Let's see where we max out once we run out of road. 212 there was the max I saw. And a good massive crash to end that run on. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think that's the end of testing here. Don't really have anything else that comes to mind that I would want to test. So happy with how this car turned out. Was fun to throw around the track and the different roads. Don't have really anything else to add here. I think I can call this car a success.